Great Gano evening to each and every one of you. This is Gano Tiffany coming to you live and direct. Constantly changes and developments in this story with George Floyd. Rest in peace, my brother. Um, you definitely didn't die in vain. For I believe that there's going to be major change in the United States towards our fellow Black people, African Americans, Israelites, Africans, whatever name, whatever name, we just need to be equally, we all need to be dealt with on equal terms. And, this movement that George Floyd, his death, it's creating a change because there's so many people that wouldn't have stood up in the past, but can clearly see that this man was murdered. There's no question, there's no doubt. If that inner spirit of your what exists inside you does not, if it does not signal in your gut that something is wrong with that picture, just the picture alone, even if you haven't seen the video, if you see that picture and that does nothing to your gut, your inner spirit, your inner man, if that does nothing to you, it doesn't move you in any type of way, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your soul because, something should stir up and let you know that something's wrong with that picture. And especially when you find out that George Floyd died at the hands of that cop that had his knee on his neck. I just cannot tolerate somebody getting on my post that would say, well, he didn't mean, the cop didn't. You sure the cop meant to kill him? Especially as of today, would comment something so ignorant. But you'll have it. I had it on my several of my posts. And, it's just ignorance and stupidity. And, some people like to perpetuate the problem instead of being, be a help in that area. There's so many people that have a voice, and are white. I know on my page alone, that could stand up, put a sign up, take a picture of them with a sign saying, I stand with peace. I stand with unity. I stand for change, and at least acknowledge that there needs to be a change. I have my, very family members that will refuse to say that there's something wrong with America. They refuse to say that, something needs to be changed. They refuse to say that Black people are being victimized and oppressed. They refuse. I mean, my blood family, I have white blood in me. And I'm sure, like most of us, we are all somehow mixed or another with this very white blood that we say is the devil. So, I'm always careful with what words I use into referring to white people because those white people is also me. This Black person also is a white person. It's just America, one drop of Black, you're automatically classified as Black. And I'm fine with that. But I want a lot of years, a lot of years not knowing that it's okay to be Black because I had a white mother. I had white sisters that also had a white dad. And so being in the middle of this whole entire subject here, being Black and white blood, and not pressing for one side over the other, but pressing for peace and for unity among everyone. We should all be equal. We're mankind. But because we have this world where we put all these labels, labels on everything, we got to label everything. And unfortunately, with that labeling, causes division, causes one group to think that they're superior over the other. And, it's amazing how, in all of this, during this time, during these protests. Even the very blood within my veins, the white and the black blood. My mother's white. She's, I believe, more of the Italian descent, but I'm not even for sure with that because we never had genetic tests done. But, my mother, her father was Italian and I believe Sicilian. But having the white blood in me and then my father being full African and full Indian, dark skin, proud to be a black man. And yet my father did, have, he had kids with white women and he also had kids with black women also. So, my father, he chose to mix with the white blood. And, that's me. So I'm torn. Like I'm literally torn between both, but I don't feel torn in this age that I'm at now because there's the spirit man. The spirit man is peace. And it doesn't matter that our outer complexion, because that only has to do with our skin color, just has to do with what continent we're from, because that's where the dark skin comes from. So, and Europeans, they got the whiter skin, because of that area where they're from. So, if we were to get somehow past that outer color and really, really reach in within all of us and realize we really are all the same. Because if you take away that top layer, we all have the exact same biological makeup underneath this outer skin. So yeah, I have been doing a lot of praying, a lot of soul searching, just a lot of meditating and constantly going into my inner self and not now get fear, but to get energy and power. This time is a time to rise up and stand for something. Because if you don't stand for something, you just fall for anything. And for me, I want to stand in my true. I've been labeled black my whole life, whether I have a white mother or not. It's still I've been labeled black. The label has been put on me my whole entire life. And so when I step out this door, even though my mother's white, when I step out this door, I'm a black woman. And I was drilled as a young age. Accept your white half. Accept your white half. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in America. They don't see the white half. They don't see you, white mama, in me. They don't see you. They only see my black daddy in me. That's it. I'm a black woman in a white America. And I've been treated as such, been discriminated against, just as dark-skinned black people. Yet my mother's white. So, it's just a complex subject. And I just want every white person to know that there are black people that we're not blaming the current day white people that are standing with us. But we do need you to stand. We need you to have a voice right now. Just because it doesn't involve your family, have compassion. And if you have a platform where you could take a stand, I pray that you have that authority to do that at this time. White America needs to go beyond, bend over and beyond to heal the damage. Over 400 years of just slaughter, killing our black men. And then us black women are left with no dad. with no black dad to help now our black sons to survive in this white America. And it is a real, true challenge for me as a black mother to not have fear, to continue to cast down fear, and to continue to pray for my sons that they won't be the next hashtag. We got to stand in unity right now. George Floyd has created a movement here in downtown LA. We're having protests even in this very hour. And I'm looking at this and I'm actually happy that people are so moved. They're so moved to get out there and do something. Grateful that the cop who murdered George Floyd was arrested today, but we want all those officers arrested. We want them all arrested, especially the brother-in-law, the little Asian guy. I believe his name is Lu. I don't know. Especially him. He had already been in a court case. He was already involved with something like this before and then didn't get indicted. So yeah, we need him arrested. We need him charged with murder also. Some type of degree of murder. He was heavily involved with that. He kept the masses back so that George Floyd couldn't get help from the bystanders. So, I'm just looking at everything, and I'm just happy that LA is now taking a part of all of this. Right now, I'm going over here to YouTube and see if I can, let's see if I can, let me see if I can find some live footage right here in LA protest. Yes, they're still out there. They're still out there. Okay, let me see.
Was hurt that you mentioned. It really took an ugly turn. I mean, they were tossing garbage cans and trash at these officers. We've got some video to roll from you from a little bit earlier of one of the LAPD cruisers just being completely trashed. We saw one with the windows completely smashed in, graffiti. There's a lot of vandals out here with spray paint tagging any building that they can find. We can't breathe. They've spray painted all kinds of anti-police rhetoric on different buildings and different landmarks. And it was an ugly scene. Things really took an ugly turn during the 7 o'clock hour as the sun began to set. And it's only gotten worse since then.
And all of this, of course, in response to a very ugly incident. In fact, an ugly series of incidents involving African Americans.
Let's say that.
Who have been killed by police. And
Let's say that.
Accusation against the officer is murder. That officer in Minneapolis charged today
Arrested.
with the murder of George Floyd. And so what we're seeing is an eruption of anger and a reaction to that anger that has taken a turn that is destructive in its own right. And it's difficult to watch. All of it has been difficult to deal with and watch all week, both the video and the reaction to it and the death of George Floyd. It has all been very, very difficult to deal with. Worth noting, too, something that I've noticed is the diversity of the crowd. The crowd, the number, both the peaceful and the non-peaceful elements of this event, if you want to call it tonight, have really reflected what LA looks like. I have seen people of all colors, all ages.
Yeah.
Now, as you mentioned, Chris, it does seem to be younger people who are out now, but these are younger people of all different ethnicities that seem to be gathered on the streets tonight, either doing mayhem or just refusing to disperse.
Yeah, it's a point that I think can't be repeated enough, although I think we are talking about two different groups when we refer to the protesters that were marching earlier in the day versus the more malevolent crowd that's really been acting up this evening. Just a disappointing thing altogether. In this case here, we have another intersection, 8th and Broadway, where they've actually used some of the LAPD cruisers to block off the intersection, not just skirmish lines, but actual cruisers to block off the intersection with arrest teams. Those are what we typically would call arrest teams. I don't know that they're going to make any arrests, but those are strike teams that are prepared to push through if this crowd begins to build up at this intersection. I'm not sure exactly why they've chosen this intersection, but it wasn't more than a few minutes ago as we went on the air that this intersection was indeed packed with demonstrators. And what started as a large group a little bit earlier across the city has really turned into splintered, much smaller, splintered groups, many more individuals running, biking, on scooters, just causing trouble and vandalizing these buildings.
Okay, Chris Christie, we will check back with you throughout this newscast. There are more protests happening here in Southern California and across the country. This one in Rancho Cucamonga earlier, hundreds of people there taking to the streets. No reports of injuries there. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department says so far no one has been arrested there. Protesters also clashing with the Secret Service tonight outside the White House. This happening after a separate protest earlier in the day. And at the protest tonight, demonstrators could be seen pulling and tugging at the metal barriers, even knocking some of them down, those barriers between officers and protesters. And this in Atlanta, police barricading themselves inside the lobby of the CNN Center as a mob of irate protesters masses outside the building and threatens to break inside. The tense confrontation punctuated after someone threw some sort of a flashbang or firework into the lobby, where, as you see here, it exploded in a shower of sparks. Shortly after that, police fired tear gas, and they were able to disperse demonstrators onto nearby streets. And, of course, tension simmering in Minneapolis, where this all began. There's a live look right now, the epicenter of the protests as demonstrators ignored the 8 p.m. curfew that was put in place by local leaders. A post office, a bank, and a restaurant were among the buildings set on fire this evening, a number of them burning, as you can see here. This looks like a strip mall there. People, once again, used violence to express their anger against law enforcement there in Minneapolis. Officers also reported shots fired at them as units moved in to control some of those crowds. Again, this is where George Floyd was killed, and the officer who killed him charged with murder. Demonstrators also clashed with officers in New York City today outside the Barclays Center. More than 100 people detained there for throwing bottles and other disturbances. The folks moved up to the 88th Police Precinct in Brooklyn. Demonstrators, protesters there where police cars were vandalized. Dozens more people were arrested there, and about a dozen officers were injured. And just a short time ago, we got our first look at the jail booking photo for Officer Chauvin in Minneapolis. All right, okay, we're going to go back out to Chris Christie, a report of a fire that has broken out. Let's get to it. Chris, where are you and what are you seeing?
Yeah, we're a few blocks away now at Hill Street and Olympic Boulevard, where a large crowd was gathered just a moment ago. A fire starting at that trash can, and then they started throwing fireworks into the fire. It was very visual. It caught our attention for sure. And now LAPD with a fire extinguisher to put out this trash fire. They did just call for a large amount of backup to disperse the crowd. There's also some protesters, or I should say rioters at this point of the night, actually confronting some motorists a few blocks away from here. So we'll try and get a visual of that coming up in just a minute, guys.
Somebody's putting the fire out. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Okay, you guys. Well, that's basically what's going on out here in LA. The youngsters are out and about, and unfortunately, the youngsters ain't having it. They're tired. They're not going for it. Back a long time ago when the slaves was, didn't have the position to fight. And, in the 60s and the 70s when, the Black Panther Party was, really trying to make a difference. Martin Luther King and, Marcus and what's his last name? Is it Garvey? Marcus Garvey? All these, Black leaders trying to make a difference all these years, and still a white cop can have the boldness to commit a murder right in front of everyone, like as if it was nothing. So casual, so nonchalant. And not only him, but even his bunch. And it's not just them. They're probably going to have to fire that whole entire department, or those who, do a whole entire evaluation of the whole entire department, replace them, maybe give them a bonus package to have to relocate. But yeah, the whole entire department needs to be fired, period. You can tell that this is the character of the department. There can't be just these four that would nonchalantly allow this black man to die in such a cold-blooded way. Even with the COVID-19, all these restrictions and all these masks and gloves. I had somebody on my Facebook post say, oh, well, maybe he didn't mean to do it, the cop. Maybe he didn't mean to do it. No decency, no respect. You wouldn't even smash a dog's face onto a COVID-19 street. They didn't even have the decency to sit the man up, let alone find something wrong with the picture with the ball of your knee smashed down into a man's neck. And not for 1 minute, not for 2, but we talking about 7, almost 8 minutes of constant pressure. And his neck can only take about 4 of the minutes at the point where he now becomes unconscious. I believe he died at that point. You could clearly see in the video him taking his last breath. You could clearly see in the video that it looks like, to me, even he had urinated on himself and defecated on himself. And that's what you can see in the video streaming towards the sidewalk because of the angle of the street. It looks like his own urine is just, that's the final release. When you die, your bowels, whatever's inside your bowels releases. And that's what you see in that video. And for someone to see that video and there's no stirrup in their stomach or anything, it doesn't cause them any type of something in their spirit to know that something just ain't right. I just don't have any time to even entertain those type of people. I had a woman comment on my Facebook post today, and I just had to erase it just for me and my humanity and me. I knew I should erase it because she's an older lady. She's a senior citizen, and even if she did know what she was doing, I don't disrespect my elders. And so I just erased her comment before the rest of my Facebook followers went hammer on her, because that's the type of humanity. I have a caring heart. And just because she doesn't have a caring heart, I still care that this old lady doesn't get verbally assassinated. Because to put some comment talking about, I don't think he meant to kill him. She got to know that this is a very sensitive time. You can see it's all over the news in every city, every major city, New York, LA, Minneapolis, all these different cities, even Phoenix. I'm here as in an uproar. Do you think that everybody's just doing that for no reason? Really? This amount of people, this amount of cities, nationwide? People are tired, sick and tired. Literally sick from the COVID-19, sick from the government and all this. Who knows what's going on with the COVID-19 and the conspiracy with that. So we sick and we tired of being killed senselessly. George Floyd supposedly is being accused of a counterfeit $20 bill, I'm hearing even now. It wasn't even a fraudulent check. So it had nothing to do with whatever he was doing. Let's get that straight. It didn't have to do with anything of what he was doing, because apparently he knew this cop. They worked together. So it was payback. He knew. He was just waiting to get caught up with this guy again. So now he'd have his badge on this time. And he could just take him out once and for all. And that's what he did. And he was going to get away with it. The peaceful protest wasn't going to get it. It took the riots. It took the looting. It did. Peaceful protest, if they worked, they would have worked. It wasn't working. So you have to get the attention of the higher authority. And that's going to take some rioting. That's going to take some looting. That's going to take some illegal activity, such as the illegal activity that was done on that man's neck. He was murdered in front of us all. And we should all take a stand. We should all stand up and to have a voice in this matter in any way possible, even if it's just with a simple sign and you take a picture and post it on your social media that you support the peace cause and get justice for all, equality for all, once and for all. Come on, let's make America great again. It's never been great. Let's make it great once and for all. Let's do that. Let's do that. And how we can do that is if every race, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Indian, I don't care what race you are. I don't care what nationality. I don't, it doesn't matter. We all need to stand in this time. Stand for peace. Stand for mankind. We all need to take an effort. I was watching YouTube today. I don't even want to say the man's name. White man out on an island somewhere. He sells masks and stuff like this to this degree. But he said, "Oh, there go the media selling a bag of chips." That's what he said. They're selling the race card, and you guys are going for it. Just again, that nonchalant. Oh, it's not affecting me. So, oh well, let me turn my eyes. I'm not hearing it. I'm not seeing it, and I'm not going to speak it. That's not working no more. We need everybody to take a voice, and we need everybody to take a stand. We need everybody to say this is not right, and we're not going to tolerate it. Well, I had to go live tonight. This is Tiffany Gano, Tiffany live and direct. I had to go live. This George Floyd, rest in peace, my brother. You've stirred up a lot in me, and I thank you for that. You have not died in vain, and we're going to make a change. We're going to make a change. I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, I was trying to purchase myself a firearm to, be able to keep my family safe. No firearms were available, no bullets. Who's buying up all these firearms? Who's buying up all these bullets? And I knew they ain't gonna be able to sit on them too long. It's like money, money just be in your wallet and just be burning. Same thing with bullets and artillery and all this stuff. You don't buy it up just not to use it. I'm over here in total awe. And I'm just happy. I'm happy that all these people are standing up and protesting, whether peaceful or not. I'm happy. I'm happy for the protest. And I hope we continue. I hope we continue to make sure that our voices are heard and that we get the full extent of the law against all four of these characters. These demonic characters that would take such pride and such, just such pride in their accomplishment of killing that black man. And they even heard, the murderer even heard a black man trying to save his fellow black man. and telling him what he was doing. And he had his hands in the pocket like, I know, this is payback. See, they get these badges. Little cowards get these badges, and then they use the badges to do what they wouldn't normally be able to do because they're cowards. You see it all written all over his face. And honestly, I detect drugs. I detect meth on that man. Looking in his eyes. He's the one on drugs. He's the one on drugs. They need to be tested immediately. When there's a incident, the cops need to be tested for what's in their bloodstream, not just the victim. In this case, I think that cop should have been taken in and tested immediately for what is in his system. What was he on during the incident? What would cause him to do such a thing? Where was his anger derived from? Because he definitely ain't been oppressed. He shouldn't be walking around with that much anger. Just parade the man around in handcuffs. That part. Like, what the heck? Who? Get up, sit down, walk across the street, all in handcuffs. Like he just you know what I mean? Like back in the day when they showed how they treated slaves. That's what it looked like to me. A current day slave event amongst the white people. That's what it looked like. Current day lynching. And if something doesn't stir up in your gut and feel like something is wrong with you. Maybe you need Dianetics or whatever you need. Maybe you need psychological evaluation yourself. At least on a spiritual tip. Come on. That image should do something in your spirit to want to do something during this time. If you're not struggling, it still doesn't mean that you just get to not do nothing. Help America heal. Be a part of this movement. Post something about Black Lives Matter. I dare you. Stand with us. Help us. We need your help. America, I'll ask. We need your help. Me being of both bloods, black and white, I can't sit back. I cannot sit back and not say anything. And that's why I'm here on this live broadcast to stand with George Floyd. This man is highly respected from the people who knew him. I can't sleep. I usually go to sleep by 9 o'clock. I'm an early riser. I get up at 5 a.m. Sometimes 4 a.m. and I stay up the whole day. But there is no rest for these eyes tonight. My eyes cry. I've been crying all day. And these tears are not a sign of weakness. These tears represent all of the pain and the suffering that Black mothers go through. We worry about our Black children. I have a 25-year-old son that lives in Texas. I know they're racist out there. And he's done a couple little things, that would cause alarm. But I just thank God that there's always been angels around about him to keep him safe, to keep him out of harm's way, and to keep him out of them racist cops' hands. Because he's had a couple things that he has done that wasn't always the best thing he could have chosen for his life. But thank God the police he encountered were not the ones that wanted to take his last breath. I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful that my son has not become a hashtag, and that I'm one of the Black mothers that could stand before my son is a hashtag. I stand with all the other Black mothers that they don't have their son there. They were victimized, oppressed by these racist white cops, and now they don't have their son. So grateful that I still have all my sons, 3 Black sons, 3 beautiful Black sons. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't wish it any other way. Me being of black and white blood, I could have possibly married a white man. But I chose to have my seed with a black man because I'm proud of my black roots. Very proud to stand tall and say that I'm a black woman in America. But there was a long time, many years, that I wished I could have that white skin like my mom and my sisters. Many years, I wish I could have been white. But now in this time, standing not only in that I am a black woman, but a proud black woman. And again, I'm putting labels because I've been taught labels. This is what I have been brainwashed in America to do, is put labels on everything. Got to label it up. But overall, I'm just proud to be a woman, really. I'm even proud to have my white mother. Labels. Well, I haven't seen anybody comment on my live stream. Let me go over here to Facebook, see what's going on.
We're here inside CNN Center, where just in the last 10 minutes, demonstrators have started to come up and down this thoroughfare of Marietta and break out windows of CNN Center. It was just a short time ago that they started shooting what appeared to be BBs at us. I was struck with a BB pellet. It's unreal to witness here, Chris. This police line, we just saw an officer extracted. An officer was down. We don't know exactly how they were injured. Another officer here. It's unreal to witness here, Chris. This police line, we just saw an officer extracted. An officer was down. We don't know exactly how they were injured. Another officer here. It's unreal to witness here, Chris. This police line, we just saw an officer extracted. An officer was down. We don't know exactly how they were injured.
Okay. I'm over here at Facebook, but again, I don't see anybody here on my live stream. So I think I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, I see Olga Lepi. Thank you for coming in, Olga.
What appeared to be a large object at one of those SWAT officers. They're throwing signs at the police officers, and they're not showing any sign of dispersing. And about 15 minutes ago, they gave an order from the armored vehicles that had shown up here just outside. Those images, I'm not sure if you're looking at. They gave the demonstrators an order to disperse. It was then that we saw more show up in tactical gear, tear gas masks, and that's when we heard over the radio that this was happening. They've broken out the windows here and are continuing to throw objects. Just another projectile fired, appear to be a full water bottle. But there are officers that we can report. At least 2 officers have been injured. One of them, it appeared to be seriously injured. He was being dragged out. You could see what's left behind of this glass partition that separates the street. These demonstrators are now launching something. It appears to be some sort of smoke grenade that they're throwing inside CNN Center right now. They're kicking it back out, guys. This is live happening in front of your eyes. I think Powerade or some sort of Gatorade or liquid, guys, on the officers. These officers are being confronted. And these demonstrators, they know what's on the other side of this. They've been warned. These officers have already fired or deployed tear gas into the crowd. We saw another with a long gun fire what appeared to be a rubber bullet. And a demonstrator who had thrown a large object. You see these demonstrators are walking inside CNN Center at this point. It seems as though this man might be detained. He's being detained. Let's see if we can talk to him. Another rock just thrown there at police. We're right behind the police line. These are very large objects
police being hit. This demonstrator, let's see if we could ask him why he was here, guys. Hey, why did you show up here today? Why are you here? Why did you come here? What made you show up?
There needs to be change. Here in our country, it's not black, white. It needs to be trained better.
You took me off the air?
No, Nick, you're still there. You okay?
Hey, yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. I didn't know if I was taken off the air. This is a not live active situation.
What did he say? I couldn't hear all
heard
of it.
that there. I was trying to get an interview with the demonstrator. He said he wanted to, police can do better. Police can do better. I'm here for change. We've heard the chants of no justice, no peace. Another large object just thrown there at CNN. This is our home, Chris, you know. This is where we come to work every day. Journalists who are trying to tell the truth, trying to deliver information. It's one of the noble parts about society, and these demonstrators have decided to come here today to take out their frustration and their anger, not just on the police, but it seems on our CNN center as well. These police officers now are advancing. They're grouped together as those objects continue to fly, being blocked by SWAT team shields. There appears to be one person in front of the demonstrators, Chris. I don't know if you can make him out on camera. He's got a white bandana on with his shirt off. He's trying to keep his crowd back and to try. It appears as though this is happening right live in front of us, that they're understanding the gravity of the situation here and what might escalate next.
So, Nick,
as this is happening, you're seeing just next to us, Chris, they're taking objects out of McCormick and Smix to try to remove large objects away from the demonstrators. Right. Go ahead, Chris.
Nick, are the cops that are inside the CNN center the only cops that are there, or are there more cops on the backside of this crowd?
No. We're giving you a different vantage point, a different perspective. There's a larger police presence, but what has happened here in the last 20 minutes is, as the demonstrators were pushed out in front of the big red letters that they're in front of CNN Center, pushed into the main intersection, they started, sort of down more towards Centennial Olympic Park, and they took advantage of not being in this area. They started to throw rocks at these windows, and it's just before we joined you live on air that this situation unfolded. It is unreal to see this. I know I keep using that word, but you never think something like this is going to happen here. Atlanta has been historically a city that, has held demonstrations, even during the rash of police shooting of African-American men in 2015. This was a city that held large demonstrations, but they were by and large peaceful. This is nothing but.
Now, how long has this been going on, Nick?
They've been here since 3 o'clock this afternoon. We understand it was a smaller crowd which gathered this afternoon, and it was about 7 o'clock that we started to get alerts from our national desk that we're throwing projectiles out in front of CNN Center, doing graffiti. We showed up about a half hour later, and within minutes, things took a turn. Here comes another object being thrown by a demonstrator in a mask. Now more reinforcements being brought in, coming behind our photographer, William Walker. What's going on, Kevin?
So what they're doing is...
They're calling for more shields, guys. Things are getting really bad out there, Chris.
Nick, what they're going to do is they're going to create what they call a phalanx, okay? They're going to create an angle of these shields. And what they're going to then have to make a decision to do is to either hold, which is they expect these windows to be broken and people to advance. And this is going to be the line that the officers draw, that you will not come any further than this. The decision, more complicated for them, is whether or not to move forward, because they only have where this white guy with the skateboard is standing. That's the only way out of the building for them. And they will not fit through there.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is a very dangerous thing to do. So they are doing a stand and hold right now. What are you hearing?
Well, it's pretty clear that these officers are nervous. They're seeing this situation de-escalate. They're trying to, as you say, hold this line here. And to the credit of the police officers so far, we have seen them not use much force while they've been having these large objects thrown at them. They are establishing their presence right now. There's no doubt about that, holding this line here, Chris. And, we're watching it happen right in front of us.
Well, they are preparing for what they anticipate to be a rush in the building.
Red beams putting on this individual here in front of you. The skateboard. You've got
weapons pointed at him. This is just so sad to see happen here.
Now, that's what the umbrella is about, is to try to block the officer's vision of what's going on. The question becomes, once this guy with the skateboard succeeds and breaks the window, what does it mean to the crowd? Is that the satisfaction they want, or are they going to try to, God forbid they do, we're going to have a very different situation.
Well, we're live right here covering it all, Chris. We're right behind the police line. They're clearly, the officers are outnumbered. Those demonstrators are going back, they're very deep, going back towards Centennial Olympic Park. I feel as though I believe I just heard what I thought was a taser deployed. I don't see anyone, though, that was on the other end of it. You're seeing more shields, more reinforcements come into that line. Police officers telling their colleagues, directing them to where they need more reinforcement. We're seeing now more demonstrators come to the front. They seem like they're antsy, Chris. They seem like they're ready to charge. This is not a good look. This is not a good sign here for these officers on the other side of it. And certainly not for the demonstrators who are coming towards us.
All right, so Nick, let's just go through this one step at a time. First, you and the team have a secondary location for you? If they come through here and the police start going, you have a way to get up the stairs?
We absolutely do. We've managed to put ourselves in a position where our viewers can see what's. Though we know safety, and there's no story worth risking your life over, Chris. We know that. I've got a daughter and a wife I want to get home to tonight.
You got a beautiful family. I see them all the time. You're a lucky man. You just make sure that the team has a place to go. You can always report later. And again, this is a tough situation because you have a small opening, and if they break the other window, then you have a bigger opening for the protesters to come in, although that would be a really, really dangerous thing for them to do. And then you also have another option for the officers to try to move the line farther outside CNN. The big question becomes, Nick, do we have any way of knowing what's happening with that crowd outside in terms of policing, or is this it? Just these cops here? You said there's a larger police presence. Where?
There is a larger police presence, just east of me here, Chris. You have the majority of those officers here. That's where the reinforcements are coming from. The crowd is, we hate to give these estimates police, but there was over 1,000 people here, perhaps even closer to 2,000 people here. Officers outnumbered. They did bring in those reinforcements, the SWAT team, members of the bomb squad, state patrol, local police officers, plainclothes. They've given these orders already to these demonstrators to disperse. They were starting to gear up with tear gas masks, ready to deploy tear gas, when all of a sudden these windows started breaking and the projectiles continue to fly in the direction. Chris, there's another one.
Wow.
Gosh.
So, just so people understand what's going on, this is a big building, and this is an expansive lobby area. You are not in the newsroom. This is the front of a big
Chris,
corporate complex.
This used to be the world's largest indoor amusement park, the Wacky World of Sid and Marty Krofft, before Ted Turner bought this and turned it into what is the Omni Center and then became CNN Center. This used to be the size of an indoor roller coaster. It still has the world's longest freestanding escalator. Thousands of CNN employees are here. It's connected to a hotel.
Wait, hold on a second, Nick.
The capacity of the hotel right now.
Nick,
go ahead.
Are those guys in front preparing to light something on fire? You see how they're wrapping his hand up right now?
Looks like it.
They're wrapping his hand up because
like
he's going to punch the glass, want something to protect his hand. But I saw him pouring something. Maybe he hurt his hand, and they're just wrapping his hand. I'm just keeping an eye on that situation. Hopefully he just is taking care of a wound, so if he cut himself, he's not going to bleed too much. Good, that's what it seems to be.
Well, they've already lit things on fire so far, Chris. They lit a police car on fire about 8 o'clock. It was just, still smoldering. They've lit signs on fire. This is a crowd that came to confront police. They're angry. And we can underscore, on the cursory level, you see the violence that is happening and unfolding right in front of our cameras. They're here under the premise because a black man was killed by police. They want to hold police accountable. The message, however, has taken a violent tone here, and we don't hear the mention of George Floyd's name at all. We just see the violence happening here in front of us.
Well, this is a bizarre scene for people who aren't used to this. You have some people are laughing, some people are videotaping.
I just threw something on fire, Chris, a firecracker.
Yep.
Something's on fire. Shit.
Nick, you all right?
You okay? You okay? You okay, guys? You all right? Is everyone okay? You all right, William? Okay, we're okay. Our crew's okay. They just threw a firecracker in on us. That was, what was that?
Yeah, that was born a firecracker. Like one of those.
Was that like a
Pretty powerful firecracker.
It might have been a flashbang,
Nick. Got our heart pumping a little bit.
It might have been a flashback. They may have gotten their hands on an undetonated flashbang that the police use, which does exactly what you just saw. Everybody's okay?
Good gracious. They just put something else on fire. Everything is okay, but they've just set something else on fire outside, Chris. We don't want to get any closer than here, but can you see what's going on? You pushing on that? No, okay. These demonstrators are starting out to make their way back towards the park.
Well,
they're loading. We understand my producer, Kevin Conlon, says that they're loading tear gas cannons right now.
if that's tear gas that's in front of there, Nick.
He's telling me to move, Chris. I gotta go.
And this tear gas is away from this because it's going to come up this fast.
We're getting out of here.
I'll get yourself a safer location.
We'll get back to it. You got it. Thank you.
All right. So here's what we've been watching. Okay, you're actually not looking at Minneapolis. On your screen, you'll see it's Atlanta. That is the CNN world headquarters. Police had been outside, and then as the crowds advanced on CNN, and they were on top of the CNN logo, and